Across 5 decades, metal has done more than through arenas. It's built movements, shaped generations, and turned concerts into legends. These weren't just shows. They were battles of sound and spirit, defining the entire eras of music, from the chaos of the 70s to the fire of the 2000s. This is the story of metal on stage, the moments that changed everything. On April 6, 1974, Black Sabbath stormed California Jam in Ontario, California, one of the first true mass metal moments in America. Over 250,000 paying fans filled the racetrack, and many more hovered outside. The band was so loud that residents 6 miles away filed noise complaints, and the organizers later claimed it featured the loudest sound system ever employed for a music event. Ozzy Osbourne, half out of his mind, introduced songs completely wrong, yet the chaos made it unforgettable. This was one of the first times heavy metal overwhelmed an American festival crowd.
Once again, Black Sabbath.
This wasn't just a concert, it was metal announcing itself to America. And once metal had America's attention, it was only a matter of time before other bands pushed it onto even bigger stages. Memorial Day weekend, 1983, 375,000 fans crammed into the desert for Heavy Metal Day at the US Festival in San Bernardino, California. Judas Priest were at their absolute peak, screaming metal to the world in full leather and studs. Rob Halford still rolled his Harley onto the stage in their trademark entrance. A fun fact is that the organizer Steve Wozniak, yes, the Apple co-founder, lost nearly $13 million on the festival. Yet, it proved heavy metal could pull stadium-sized crowds.
This is the biggest collection of heavy metal maniacs in the history of the world!
Judas Priest didn't just play. They showed metal was now a global force, one capable of headlining massive events and shifting culture. And when metal went global, no one embodied that worldwide domination better than Iron Maiden. January 1985, Rio de Janeiro. 350,000 fans, many of whom had never seen a Western metal band live, roared as Iron Maiden headlined Rock in Rio's opening night. Bruce Dickinson later said it was the loudest crowd he had ever heard.
Hey, come on! Brazil, Rio de Janeiro, yay! 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 Revelations for you this world!
A fun fact is that during Revelations, Dickinson cut his eyebrow when his guitar smacked his face. Blood trickled down, but he didn't stop performing. This was the new wave of British heavy metal, proving it had conquered the planet. Metal was no longer a niche, it was mainstream, in places you didn't expect. But if Maiden took metal global, Metallica soon made it unstoppable, even behind the Iron Curtain. In the crumbling USSR, September 1991, Metallica stood before what's been estimated as 1.6 million fans at the Monsters of Rock Moscow at the Tushino airfield. Hetfield's roar of "Die!" shook the air as helicopters hovered overhead and the Red Army deployed tanks, fearing riots, only to join the headbanging crowd instead. Drummer Lars Ulrich later admitted that 1.6 million number might be inflated. It may go up by 100,000 people each year, he joked. But what's undeniable was the sheer scale of the event. This wasn't just a gig. It was a cultural earthquake. Heavy metal crossing Iron Curtain lines and reclaiming freedom in sound. And it wasn't just Metallica who made history in Moscow. Another band on that same stage found their true breakout moment. On that same Moscow stage, a young Pantera unleashed groove metal fury to over 500,000 people while opening for Metallica and AC/DC. Phil Anselmo's aggression and Dimebag's Darrell's riff were pure fire. Pantera weren't even on the original bill, as they were late additions, divided at the last minute. Yet, they nearly stole the show and immediately expanded their global reach. This was Pantera's true global breakout, proving groove metal belonged on the biggest stages just as much as thrash or classic metal. By 1990, thrash metal had reached its commercial peak. The Clash of the Titans tour brought Slayer, Megadeth, Anthrax, and later Alice in Chains into packed arenas across North America.
Megadeth, Anthrax, Slayer. Is it a game of speed metal king of the hill or just good loud fun?
Slayer closed most nights, playing faster and heavier than anyone else on the bill. An often overlooked detail is that security at several shows struggled to control the crowds, forcing venues to reinforce barricades after early dates. Metallica were invited but declined, believing they had already moved past their thrash scene. This tour captured thrash metal at full force, just before the genre fractured and disappeared from the mainstream. In the late 90s, metal was also evolving into something darker and more theatrical. In 1998, Rammstein filmed Live aus Berlin, a concert so intense it redefined what a metal show could be. Real fire, explosions, controlled chaos. Several venues had already tried to ban the band due to safety concerns. A lesser-known fact is that German authorities closely monitored their shows after early performances caused injuries from pyrotechnics. This Berlin performance helped turn Rammstein into Germany's first true global metal export. Rammstein proved that metal didn't need speed, it needed impact. Metal concerts had always tested limits, but by the late 1990s, those limits began to fail. As a result, Woodstock '99 simply wasn't just a music festival. It was a system failure, extreme heat, dehydration, overpriced water, and almost no crowd control pushed over 200,000 people towards collapse. During Limp Bizkit's performance, tensions turned into movement, and as break stuff played, crowd barriers were torn apart and used as weapons. By nightfall, fires were already burning across the site. When Metallica took the stage, emergency services were overwhelmed. Assaults were being reported, parts of the sound system failed, and fires spread in the distance. Over the course of the weekend, 3 people died. By the time Rage Against the Machine closed, Woodstock was no longer a festival. It was an evacuation.
And now you do what they told you!
Out of that collapse, a new kind of metal presence began to rise. Raw, violent, and impossible to ignore. In 1999, Slipknot arrived on Ozfest as complete unknowns, 9 masked musicians from Iowa, playing early afternoon slots in brutal heat. Most of the crowd had no idea who they were. That changed fast.
This one's gonna rip you a new fucking asshole. This song's called Wait Please.
Their live show was violent and chaotic, constant movement, screaming, percussionists pounding metal barrels. At one point, Clown set his drum kit on fire. A detail many people miss is that Slipknot were among the lowest paid bands on the tour, yet they drew some of the largest crowds outside the headliner. Fans stayed in the sun just to watch them. By the end of Ozfest, Slipknot weren't opening anymore. They had become the most talked about band on the tour. But while some bands expressed chaos, others used the stage to speak with purpose. In April 2015, System of a Down performed in Republic Square in Yerevan, Armenia, marking 100 years since the Armenian genocide. Over 50,000 people attended, with millions watching worldwide. The band rejected sponsorships and commercial branding, insisting that the show remain political and cultural. Security was minimal, yet the event passed without violence, driven by collective memory rather than aggression. It was one of the rare moments where a metal concert became a global act of remembrance. From the birth of heavy metal on festival stages, to chaos, collapse, and rebirth, these concerts weren't just shows. They were pressure points in history, where sound, culture, and crowds collided. And every era of metal left its mark not in studios, but on stages like these. If this video added something on how you see metal history, consider supporting the channel. A like or a subscribe genuinely helps, and I appreciate you watching. Thanks, and see you next time.